too, at the similarities in background. And I suspect that as the discussion develops, we'll find ourselves both seeing new further similarities, as well as very important differences in the character and course of the revolutions themselves. And we'll be hearing more about that in the first instance from Simon Newman, who's going to be talking about British America.
Which is the best job for me because other people do the introduction.
Fine, thank you. We have it in our power, wrote Thomas Paine in 1776, to begin the world over again. Later on in that same year, Thomas Jefferson justified the American Revolution with the observation that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. 2 decades later, George Washington addressed the ambassador of the revolutionary French Republic with the words, "My anxious recollections, my sympathetic feelings, and my best wishes are irresistibly excited whensoever in any country I see an oppressed nation unfurl the banners of freedom." The revolutionary generation who helped create the First Republic in the Americas shared a belief that they had shown the whole world a new way forward, and these men all used phrases such as the contagion of liberty, a very powerful metaphor in an age when so many people died of contagious diseases. The outbreak of the French Revolution just 3 months after the inauguration of Washington as the first president of the United States initially thrilled the revolutionary generation, and between 1789 and 1795, no nation in the world matched the United States in its support for the new French Republic. Americans pored over newspapers to learn about events in France, and French revolutionary flags, badges, songs, and festivals filled the new American Republic. If the French monarchy could fall and a new republic could take its place, Americans reasoned, then republics like their own could arise everywhere, and most especially in their own Western Hemisphere. But the initial enthusiasm for perpetual revolution faded quickly, as events in the later 1790s and early 1800s changed opinions within the United States. Citizens of the United States recoiled at the increasingly violent and atheistic tendencies of the French revolutionaries. Of far more import, however, was the spread of radical revolution to the Americas. While revolutionary wars for independence and the creation of new republics had been, in the abstract, a desirable development for North Americans, the spread of French revolutionary radicalism to the enslaved peoples of Haiti was a step too far. As producer of 40% of the world's sugar and creator of phenomenal wealth for French planters, Haiti was a hellish home for almost half of the slaves in the Caribbean. Rarely can a people have been more ready for revolutionary change. Between 1791 and 1804, slave rebellion transformed into a revolutionary war for self-determination, and thereafter the conflict deteriorated into a bloody race war. Hundreds of thousands died before Haiti emerged as a free black republic, albeit a nation devastated by war and mired in poverty. To Americans like President Thomas Jefferson, one of the largest slave owners in his native Virginia, the Haitian Revolution was a tremendous shock, and an event that seemed to take the contagion of liberty far too far. The author of America's Declaration of Independence, Jefferson had been an enthusiastic American revolutionary and a great supporter of the French Revolution. In the early stages of the French Revolution, Jefferson had enthused famously that a little rebellion now and then is a good thing, telling one correspondent that the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. But the Haitian Revolution terrified Jefferson and many other citizens of the United States. Between 1776 and the end of the 18th century, Jefferson and other Americans might have hoped for many more Republican revolutions and wars for independence, but the Haitian Revolution helped stifle this enthusiasm. Moreover, Jefferson and his fellow founders and revolutionaries began changing their conceptions of the American Revolution itself. No longer did they think of it as merely the first of many similar revolutions that would change the Americas and potentially the entire planet. Instead, they began thinking of the American Revolution as an exceptional event, one that could never be emulated, which had created a unique nation. In the eyes of these citizens of the United States and many subsequent historians, the rest of the world, and especially the peoples of the Caribbean and Latin America, were not yet ready for independence and self-government. They would need careful guidance in order to join the United States as sister republics. Partly as a result of this change in thinking by the revolutionary generation, American historians have come to regard the founding of the United States as something that has no real equivalent in world history, as part of what has created the United States as an exceptional nation. In this exceptionalist vision, the American Revolution and the War for Independence are not readily comparable with or allied to other revolutions and independence movements elsewhere. Even the best professional historians in the United States are guilty of this kind of thinking. approaching American independence from a particularly parochial perspective. The opening sentence of Gordon Wood's Pulitzer Prize-winning The Radicalism of the American Revolution observes, "We Americans like to think of our revolution as not being too radical. Indeed, most of the time we consider it downright conservative. It certainly does not appear to resemble the revolutions of other nations." Even US historians on the left, such as Gary Nash, define American independence in somewhat insular terms as the touchstone of succeeding generations of Americans. Nash titled the epilogue to his radical history, The Unknown American Revolution, "Sparks from the Altar of '76. Yet despite the fact that this phrase comes from the great international revolutionary Thomas Paine, Nash fails to consider any sparks that might have fallen outside of the US. Instead, he concludes his study of the American Revolution by looking at the ways in which Americans left out of the initial American Revolution, African Americans, women, Native Americans, sought to share in the rights and liberties fought for in 1776. American historians do see the American Revolution as a world-altering event, not for its effects in promoting revolution elsewhere or its similarity with other revolutionary wars of independence, but rather because it created a unique nation. The Patriots and the Founding Fathers had initially imagined that their revolution would be the first and ultimately just one of many revolutions, illuminating the way out of monarchical and imperial darkness, with the US existing as one of many republics. Yet generations of American historians have instead interpreted the American Revolution and American independence as intensely and inherently national phenomena, the defining first chapters in the history of a single nation. As such, American independence and its heroes have occupied a unique role in American politics all the way up to the present. They remain the rhetorical touchstones for American leaders, and it is daily fare for American presidents and politicians to hail the founders and the rhetoric of American independence and revolution in their speeches. From Abraham Lincoln citing the Declaration of Independence in the Gettysburg Address, to Barack Obama mentioning George Washington and quoting Thomas Paine in his inaugural address, Americans' politicians constantly define their policies, their objectives, and their leadership in terms of the ideals and the language of the late 18th century founding generation. Obama is a particularly able speaker, and throughout his presidential campaign, he grounded his policies and objectives in the rhetoric and ideology of the American Revolution. However, opponents have accused the Obama administration of betraying those ideals, and they have mobilized a loose organization called the Tea Party, deliberately evoking the Boston Tea Party of 1774 in order to validate their attacks. The United States is one of the most powerful and quintessentially modern nations in the world, and yet even today some of its most bitter political battles are fought under the ideological banners of the late 18th century American Revolution. It is striking how much the United States continues to define itself in terms of the language, the images, and the people of the late 18th century revolutionary era. And this is not restricted to the speeches of politicians. If you visit Disney World in Florida, which was of course located in Spanish North America in 1776, you can visit Liberty Square in Disney's enchanted magical kingdom. Look at a replica of the Liberty Bell, the second bell to be cast from the same cast that the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia originated from. You can stand beneath the Liberty Tree, and you can then enjoy a glass of Patriots Punch and a decoration salad while sitting in the Benjamin Franklin room of the Liberty Square Tavern, all in the company of your favorite Disney characters. Liberty Square was originally designed to be an annex to Main Street USA in Disneyland in California, also part of Spanish North America in 1776.